huge tactical mistakes by Xabi Alonso in this match. In the first half, Real Madrid was playing in a 4-4-2 with Camavinga as a right midfielder with a double pivot of Arda Güler and Tchouaméni. And so in the first half, Real Madrid was able to play through Liverpool's press, but that changes in the second half where Camavinga moves into the double pivot with Tchouaméni. And then Arda Güler moves out into the right midfield. That completely collapsed Real Madrid's ball progression out of the back. And in the second half, Liverpool was having a lot more success pressing the ball high up the pitch against Real Madrid. And so you have to question, now that Xabi Alonso has been at Real Madrid, it's still very early days and he's still trying to institute a lot of the things that he's looking to change within the squad, and it will take time. A defeat like this is not detrimental to Real Madrid in the grand scheme of things. Today, PSG lost to Bayern Munich at home, and so putting this defeat in retrospect is really important. But you also have to remember that Liverpool is not in very good form. They've lost many games consecutively in a row, but having narrowly defeated Aston Villa in their last match. And so this is not a top-notch Liverpool side. In both of Real Madrid's big tests this season away from home, both against Atleti and against Liverpool, they were defeated. Today, Liverpool deserved to beat Real Madrid. There's no doubt about that. In possession, when Real Madrid was high up the pitch against Liverpool, they would struggle to break down Liverpool's defensive block. Real Madrid would move the ball laterally with no penetrative passes. It's almost like the team, when they did have possession of the ball, especially in the first half, had no real answers. It would be Vinicius who would get the ball on the left-hand side, and there'd be practically no off-ball runs. And so when you look at Real Madrid's defeat today, both as the collective, there was some major tactical mistakes made by Xabi Alonso, but there's also a lot of individual mistakes. Take Dean Huijsen, for example. Dean Huijsen today gave up possession on so many different occasions. This is without a doubt the worst performance by Dean Huijsen since he's joined Real Madrid. He gave up possession of the ball countless times. And if there's one thing Real Madrid needed today, was a reliable center back who could progress the ball forward to break through Liverpool's press. And so the difficulties that Real Madrid faced came from the defenders themselves, because Eder Militao wasn't so bad. He has that experience. And once again, today we saw by Real Madrid is that they struggle to defend set pieces. This has been a theme for Real Madrid this season. Whenever there's crosses into the box, which we saw against Atleti, they conceded a goal against Mallorca from a set piece, and today they conceded another goal against Liverpool from a set piece. This has been an issue. Because let's not forget that Liverpool did score the goal by McAllister, but they had several chances from set pieces before the actual goal. And Thibaut Courtois again comes up with some miraculous saves. This could have easily been a game where Real Madrid conceded more than one goal. But again, Real Madrid traveled to Anfield and practically put nothing forward from an attacking sense. But the positives from this game, if there are any, is Alvaro Carreras again today defending so well against Mo Salah. Today, Alvaro Carreras, you could see why Xabi Alonso was so adamant on getting him, because he practically shut down Salah every single time. But again, going forward, he wasn't really able to affect the play because every time he made overlapping runs, he was hardly found in those types of situations. And so that is one of the things that Real Madrid, when facing deep blocks, need is more movement off the ball, especially through the half space. And several times we saw Carreras making overlapping runs, but it was to no benefit because Vinicius would never really find him. The movement of the ball by Real Madrid, there was hardly any penetration. It would be sideways passes. A lack of invention, a lack of movement out of possession. And this goes back to another issue that we talked about several times of the Real Madrid squad building, is there an issue within the team to have a profile player within the squad who can really lead the ball progression out of the back and really dictate the play? It feels like there is that missing piece. A player who can dictate the play, control tempo, the way Vitinha does for PSG. There are two prevailing issues that Real Madrid have currently. Number one, Real Madrid struggles to find solutions to ball progression when they're faced against teams that press them very aggressively. And number two, Real Madrid, when faced with teams that are sitting in a deep block, oftentimes struggles to find the answers to break down those deep blocks. And so there's an entire tactical revolution taking place at Madrid with Xabi Alonso, who's still instituting his philosophy within the team, because let's not forget the European champions right now, PSG, last year went to Anfield and lost, but yet still ended up winning the Champions League and eliminating Liverpool. So you cannot read too much into this defeat, but it is concerning for Real Madrid to see that whenever the team has been in these hostile types of atmospheres and been in these types of matches, it hasn't gone their way. A few times when Liverpool were pressing the ball high up the pitch against Real Madrid would play long balls to Kylian Mbappe Out of goal kicks, they would go long to Camavinga. And that's simply not the answer for Real Madrid because they would not win those headers. They would not be able to get those balls out of the air. And what you saw also with Camavinga in this game is he was playing on the right hand side and he would struggle to be able to break through Liverpool's press. And so a more natural winger in this type of game occupying that position would have had a lot more success. And so that's why in the second half when you saw Arda Güler drift to the right midfield position and you also saw Kylian Mbappe drift out to the right hand side, that was probably a tactical shift that Xabi Alonso wanted to institute to attack more down Liverpool's left hand side because there was practically nothing happening on that side. But every time Vinicius would get the ball, he'd be outnumbered every single time and he'd have no space to pick out anybody. And so he'd be forced to play the ball backwards. So you have to say that Arne Slot's plan in this match, the tactical setup was a lot more organized than Real Madrid. But also in terms of the balance of the team, Camavinga playing on the right midfield, receiving the ball, trying to play those 1-2s, only to be faced by another Liverpool player pressing the ball, made it very difficult for Real Madrid to play out of that press. And so this is one of the things that Xabi Alonso needs to figure out at Real Madrid because in theory, when teams press a team like Real Madrid, you should be able to make them pay for it by playing line-breaking passes and releasing your players in transition like Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius. But both players were hardly given any service in this match. And we saw Real Madrid not necessarily overcommitting to pressing the ball and trying to win it from Liverpool. And so Real Madrid were trying to play more in transition. But that did not work whatsoever because Real Madrid was not able to find the players that they wanted to in transition. But taking all of that aside, Xabi Alonso, yes, needs to figure out how to adjust the team to make them play better in the second half because in the first half, Real Madrid was very competitive. They controlled the majority of the ball. They made it very difficult for Liverpool to press them. But in the second half, with the tactical changes that Arne Slot made and Xabi Alonso, Liverpool took over the game. But you cannot account for the fact that your players are going to make many individual mistakes. Dean Huijsen has played in the Premier League. He's faced Liverpool in the past on several occasions when he was at Bournemouth. And he's been so reliable from a ball progression standpoint playing for Bournemouth. But tonight, what we saw from Dean Huijsen was an atrocious performance. Absolutely atrocious. He's a young player who undoubtedly will improve. But when you think about a player's ceiling and how good they can be, you also have to take into account their floor and how bad they can be. And today, what we learned about Dean Huijsen is when he's bad, he's really, really bad. Bad to the point where he's a huge liability. To the point where you maybe need to take him off to stop giving the ball away cheaply every single time to Liverpool. That was concerning what we saw today from Dean Huijsen. Another player who gave up the ball cheaply on several occasions in the second half was also Eduardo Camavinga when he moved into the double pivot. The thing is, when you're going to play in the pivot, you're going to play in the center of the park. It is so important for you not to give up the ball cheaply. There were several times where Eduardo Camavinga in that second half, when he played in the middle of the park, gave up the ball to Liverpool a couple of times. And so if Camavinga wants to take that leap in his career to play in the midfield, to be a starter at Real Madrid, that's a huge leap for him. To not just be a player who's constantly coming in and out of the team. It's these kind of performances that makes the manager lose trust in you. Because although Camavinga has a higher ceiling than Tchouaméni, the floor for Tchouaméni is not as low as Camavinga. All around, really bad individual performances by the majority of the players today by Real Madrid. The two players who can hold up their head high, who had decent performances, Federico Valverde, Alvaro Carreras, Jude Bellingham, and of course Thibaut Courtois. Those are the players who showed up, fought, did the best they could. Eder Militao did not have a poor performance, but today Dean Huijsen did not play well. Camavinga played very poorly. Kylian Mbappe, you can't really say didn't play well because he wasn't really given the service. Vinicius, every time he received the ball, he didn't make anything happen. Rodrigo came off the bench, had no positive impact. But with Trent Alexander-Arnold coming back into the lineup, there's no doubt that he will grow into the team, and that will undoubtedly help Real Madrid because you can then put Fede Valverde back into the midfield where he belongs. Trent can go back into being a right back. He can help with the ball progression, and Real Madrid will only get better after this defeat. But still, concerning things all around, Real Madrid still needs to take that extra step, go to that next level, because your performances cannot be this bad when you're going into hostile environments like that. I was in favor of Carlo Ancelotti leaving Real Madrid last season, but there's one thing you have to say about Carlo Ancelotti. When it came to the Champions League, the big nights in the Champions League, he knew how to get the players to show up to these big matches calmly, performing at a decent level, not making a lot of individual mistakes, Real Madrid would take their football to the next level in the Champions League, and we seemed a lot calmer in these hostile environments. If you guys are new here, also don't forget to click that like button to help me with this video. It means a lot. And if you're new here, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and Hala Madrid.